Hey everybody, this is Goosebumps enthusiast, joined again by my good friend Alejandro. How are you doing tonight, Goosebumps for Dummies?
I am doing very well. I'm very glad to be back at it again, doing another collab video with my boy Bruce.
Fuck yeah, it's been a while. And today we have a very interesting subject that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. That is overrated books. What do we think are books that are just genuinely overrated by the mass public? Well, here we have, kind of a decent sized collection of books that you're going to hear from us about what we think is overrated from them and why we think it's overrated. We can also talk about things that we don't like in these stories, but what I think we're going to first dabble onto is books that we share an opinion across. Now, later on in this video, we'll talk about books that we find overrated in different reasons, even if we can slightly agree. But these four books are books that we both heavily agree are overrated, which I guess can kind of support the matter even more. So the first book that we both agree on is Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. I personally think this one is overrated in a sense that I don't really dislike this one, but there's some things that can get kind of tedious in it or repetitive that can hold back its score quite a bit. And I'm not sure why this one is so loved, but I think it has definitely something to do with either the 2015 movie or maybe even the episode from the 90s. Do you have anything to say about this one?
Yeah, I completely agree on why it's probably overrated. It's definitely because of the other adaptations, mostly being the movie. Since that is one of the most iconic scenes from the movie, it's one of the highlights, people would say. And that's probably why people think, oh, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, what a great book. Not discrediting anybody who have actually read it and did enjoy it. That's just our personal reason why we think it's overrated. The book itself just isn't that great in my opinion. I don't dislike it either, but it has a lot of annoying aspects. Like the first, even 100 pages are basically like the average Night of Living Dummy book with lawn gnomes. It's not even like slightly better because it's like Dummy 2. This is more like Dummy 1 and 3, where it isn't particularly fun to read for most people.
Yeah,
And
I
also,
mean,
just it has the Dummy 2 aspect in there where there may or may not be something supernatural going on for the whole book, but it's still just like not a fun read for the majority of it. And
I
also, mood
think
sucks.
I think uh the reason I don't like it, in specific, if you're just wondering for my own personal enjoyment, it's probably because it's one of those you gotta believe me stories, and it does that the entire book. Pretty annoying, but it spawned itself a sequel in the Most Wanted series, so I guess you can say the fans really did reach out and helped it get more popular, but I haven't heard great things about that one either, which is kind of funny to me because although I say this book is overrated, there's a big group of people that would say the same thing. So I didn't think it would be worthy enough to include it in the actual top five of mine. Now, the next book we're going to talk about is one that apparently Alex says Reddit loves. And I've seen more than just that. I've seen great reviews for this on YouTube, and that is The Curse of Camp Cold Lake. This is a book that I made an actual review on my channel if you want to check that out. Alex made one as well. And I think we both kind of agree on the facts that it's, there's a lot of annoying stuff in this book as well, mainly with the horrible main character. Uh, and there's also just stuff that I think is genuinely overrated as fuck in this one. Like, even things, like little things that people find enjoyable, I think are just whatever. The villain, a lot of people hype up. I think she's fine. I could never read this book again though, and I'd be totally fine. So yeah, and one of the weaker camp books that I've read so far. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
This is one of those books where I can kind of see why it's overrated. Because I get that there's a lot of darker things in this book. There are darker things like potentially some sort of suicide reference, which is just something I don't think is very good, especially for Goosebumps. I don't like where this book tries to tread with the really stupid aspect of, well, putting it lightly, suicide. Like I said, And I think that's why people gravitate to it so much, is because it's very dark, and also it has a creepy villain who I can admit, yeah, they're kind of cool. I like the idea. But personally, I think they're not as great as people say, and I think the suicide stuff's just too gnarly for Goosebumps, and as well as just not a great book at the end of the day for me. But I can see why people like it so much.
Yeah, I mean, this one, at least I can try to find things people would like in it. I just don't enjoy it as much, but yeah. Next book is one that I actually rate quite highly. I like this book out of the four we're talking about here. But it's still another one where I kind of go, is this really a perfect book? Which a lot of people say it is, and I definitely can't agree. I'd say this one's a high decent, and that is Night of the Living Dummy. Now, the 1993 classic has some things that, you know, I really like from, a standpoint where I go, this is great on a first read, but I've read this book 3 times now, and I gotta say, each time it just gets worse. One thing I will commend this book for is one of the best second halves of any Goosebumps book. Has an amazing climax. I really like where things go in the end of things. The first half of this doesn't start well, and I will fully elaborate on that. I think that this this book in the first half is actually kind of garbage. I don't have to explain much. I'll probably make a review on this at some point, but in general, not a huge fan until things start to get more intense. And I hear a lot of people say that about Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, but I'd say that that book is better than this, and I'd actually say by a decent portion too. Um, but yeah, I don't know what you think about that, but
Um, Pretty much agree, man. The second half, or like past like page 85, and a certain living dummy that isn't, who comes alive and actually does some stuff. Spoiler alert, yeah, no one cares. Um, it gets way better as it goes on, but I feel like a lot of people kind of overrate it, obviously, because the first half of the book is not very good. There's a lot of really annoying aspects, like the twins, they're just bickering the whole time. And some of the worst cases of it, I'd say, or one of the worst cases, I mean, there's always sibling drama in Goosebumps, but it's especially bad here because it's a giant portion of the book. And though it's like kind of resolved by the end, it still takes up a big chunk of the book, and it does bother me a lot. I can see why people like it, but there's still those first 80 pages that kind of suck. So that's why we think it's overrated mainly.
absolutely. And I think the most overrated book, and this would be in my top 5, but I already talked about it on my video with Completionist. Please check that out. And also, because we share this opinion, I said fuck it. And this is what is, in my opinion, if you're asking me, the most overrated of all time, the Horror Camp Jelly Jam. And it's all because of what I said in previous videos. It's a bandwagon book. Bjorn made it kind of really fucking popular, which is fine. It just isn't that great. And it's cool if he enjoys it. I don't think that a lot of people really actually love this book. I feel like you can like this. I think that there's definitely parts that are cool. I actually really like the villain of this book. In general, the whole story besides that is extremely mid in my opinion, and I also don't like that they're playing sports the whole time because even if I like watching sports, I don't want to fucking read about
it. Great points there. Um, I agree mainly that this book is definitely overrated by Bjorn, and it's kind of feels like that nobody actually has read this book, or at least those who have are few and far in between. There's not many of them. Or rather, maybe people read it and maybe they don't like it as much as they really say they do. It's just hard to believe that there's such a mass liking to this book that even rivals Night of the Living Dummy for being, for a long time, one of the more unpopular ones before Bjorn, kind of popularized it on the YouTube community at least. Um, it's definitely overrated, and also I still really like it at the end of the day. I think it is a really good book, even if it has its issues like sports. Unless you like sports, then I guess you can like it for that. Um, it's definitely been overrated over the years.
Yeah. And with that, let's kick off our top fives, and I'm going to pass this over to Alex first. What is your fifth most overrated Goosebumps book?
Gonna turn some heads with this one. Um, Son of Slappy. One of the most mid books in the franchise, I'd say. And though I used to absolutely hate it, upon reread, it's not that bad. But I still think it's extremely overrated. Um, I can absolutely see why people might like this, but I think it's so overrated, even though the main thing I see why people like it is because of how unique it is from other dummy books. Slappy's alive for a majority of the story, and I'll leave it at that. And there's a weird aspect about how Slappy's working in this book. It's not your usual dummy book. And I do enjoy that to an extent. I think there's some reveals in this book that aren't so great and don't land well. I think that it's kind of annoying at times. There's some tropes still in this book, like you have the annual puppet show. Don't we all love that in Goosebumps books? Yeah, overrated. I feel it's still a Slappy book at the end of the day, and I'm not the biggest fan of Slappy. I don't hate him, but I don't really like him. And yeah, this is just one of his other books. I feel I can see why people like it, but I don't think it is like that great.
Yeah, and what I think is actually interesting about that one is how it's the only Slappy book we'd get in Most Wanted, which I'm not sure how fan reaction was at the time, but I'm pretty sure most people weren't expecting or at least wanting an entire series based off of him. But I'll get into my fifth spot here. And this is one that I was kind of struggling to put on this list, but I kind of just decided to do this instead of one of my honorable mentions, which we'll get to. But it's Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls. And this book I say is overrated because I think it's actually pretty dang good. This is nowhere near perfect, and I think a lot of people kind of ignore the flaws of this one. The body swapping stuff is pretty interesting, but can get a little boring at times. And I feel like this book is weirdly longer than it needs to be, even if it's only, I think, like 114 pages. That's not great for a fan to say. And not to mention, I'm not going to really include this into score, but this cover has you thinking it's going to be something which doesn't really happen. Which, you know, if I'm being honest, I kind of, while reading this, go, this isn't bad, but I almost want to read like a zombie story, which is what's happening here. Overall, I can't recommend this too much unless you're a diehard fan, and it blows my mind that this is one of the few Series 2000s that have gotten a reprint, even if we are seeing some more later this year. So, yeah. Moving on to Alex's fourth pick, you got.
Night of the Giant everything. There's so many Night of the books, man. So many. And this one is a certain YouTuber's potential guilty pleasure book, Goosebumps Completionist. Oh, whoops, I might have spelled their name there. And this is just one I can't even comprehend how people love it so much, let alone guilty pleasure. This book is just really bad for me. It is a shrinking story, if that tells you much. Um, it does a lot of the shrinking tropes. There's a really perverted feeling to actually scenes thrown in this book where potentially this kid's butt naked, little kid, and there's also squirting silly string on two female chicks that this kid has a crush on. It's kind of weird. There's this really perverted feeling piano teacher, which is just fucking gross. This book has some very perverted vibes in it. And that's something I shouldn't be saying about a fucking kid's book, but here I am. Let alone the story is just trash. This kid shrinks, and it is the most bland, stereotypical shrinking story for like 90 pages straight. And then you have the horrible twists that come and it's just twist after twist after twist. Like, it's not this, it's not this, it's really that, and then there's just Men in Black stuff thrown in. Ugh, I really did not enjoy my time with this book. I guess you can maybe like this for how weird it is, but like even then, it's still like really bad for me at the end of the day. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding of the hype. This is just one that is definitely overrated in my eyes, and I just can't see why.
Yeah, I mean, Hall of Horrors, I haven't read any of the books of as of this video recording, but I have heard a lot of kind of weird things about it. There's a lot of mysteries behind the series as well. Like, is Why I Quit Zombie School sequel to Zombie School from GYG and stuff like that, which, you know, is kind of up to speculation at the moment because of how unpopular it is. And that's also a reason why I never really see them in thrift stores. Clearly didn't sell well. And it's kind of weird why. But for my fourth pick, I've got, oh yeah, One Weekend at Horland. This is actually decent. However, I'm gonna say this in the most explicit way possible. They made a fucking, okay. Let's just talk about this. A sequel in the '90s. And they made another sequel via a game that was made for computers. They made another game in the 2000s. They made an entire fucking series with 2 arcs about this in the 2000s. And if you want to count it, a third called Hall of Horrors, which is basically a sequel to Horrorland. And on top of that, gets merch up the ass. This does not deserve all that. If it's good, it's good. But I gotta say one thing. Basically, anything that's tied into Horrorland after this, I can't say the best about. I gotta be honest, a lot of it's pretty rough. Especially if we're talking books. The games I haven't played in forever, and I haven't played the '90s ones, so I can't speak on that. But holy shit. Might be a good book once again, but is what followed it good? All the sequels and all this shit? Not really. I gotta be upfront and honest, not really. And another thing I guess you can throw in is how they have an entire Goosebumps mascot, aka the horror, uh, from this book. It's like, it's just a green guy with horns. Who the fuck cares? There's so much cooler mascots. There's Prince Koru, Cuddles, Slappy, fucking Haunted Mask, Curly. I could fucking count on all my fingers more mascots that are better than him. So overall, my score, I'm gonna be honest, it's probably like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. But an 8 out of 10 is morely because of respect out of actual enjoyment.
Damn. Moving on. I will say Hall of Horrors is literally taking place in Horrorland, so there are arcs. This next one is not exactly a full book, and now we're in my number 3 pick. It's actually a tale, the most popular tale story, mostly because it actually had an episode adaptation, and it's from Tales, book 3, Even More Tales Give Goosebumps, and it is Haunted House Game. 10 out of 10s across the board. And you want to know my rating? 5.5 out of 10. It is extremely mid. And this is one where, once again, I can't really see why people like it so much. This one, the only reason I think people like it so much is because I guess it's decently scary, and also the twist. And I will admit, that's partially why I don't think this is bad at all. The twist saves this book from being like tale from being like a 2 or 3 out of 10. Besides the twist, which even in itself is overrated, it's still cool, but like there's scarier, more dark and twisted, twists out there. The main story itself, for being 12 pages, really pisses me off because of how freaking stereotypy it is. It has the most bland jump scares and spooky events that you can imagine. Knock at the window, scream in the house, creaking in the attic. It's not scary. It's like, what am I reading? A little kid's book? It's not scary. It's not even clever or creative. And that's kind of dives into that. It's bland and it's stereotypy. And then people give it tens out of tens across the board. I'm not gonna shame people for liking it. It's just I don't understand how people like this so much for how much stereotypes, like I said, are in this book, and just for the overratedness of that ending, which still is good, just not 10 out of 10. Yeah. Although I don't think this is bad, it's still not really even good in my opinion. Um, Not a lot to be said past that. Overrated, just a bunch of stereotypes for 12 pages.
Enjoy Scooby-Doo, like the original cartoon series or not, I think most people can at least see similarities between that and that story, which is not a fucking good thing. And also, the episode's not very good either. Sorry, I said it. This was bound to happen. Number 3, Shocker on Shock Street. Where do I begin? Where's Horland? Annoying characters, similar plot beats that are boring. And overall, if I have to say anything about this book, that'd be the perfect word. It's fucking boring. I don't know why people like this so much. I see hype all around the fucking community on Reddit, Discord, whatever. I've seen tons and tons of fan support for this about how we need, another reprint and shit like that. It's like, no, you don't. You already got your one reprint. And on top of that, this was in the fucking Goosebumps movie, which I'll be honest is pretty cool, but it's just the cover. And the cover, I gotta say, is honestly too much justice for how bad this book can be at times. I gotta be honest, man. This book is how many fucking pages? Let's look. Oh, I don't know, like 120, right? 120 kind of feels like 150, 60, which is honestly kind of sad. I had great expectations going into this, and I didn't like it very much. Episode is fucking horrible, by the way. That I cannot respect at all. At least this is tolerable, but this is not one I could see any enjoyment in, or even close to recommending people. I mean, I'll never go back to this. It's a 5 out of 10, and one of the most 5 out of 10s out of the 5 out of 10s that I have.
Okay. Moving on to my second place pick. This is gonna piss off the same YouTuber I mentioned earlier. Goosebumps completion. What? What? My bad. I had a horrible cough there. Number 2, The Birthday Party of No Return. One of the least enjoyable experiences I've ever had. This is so fucking boring. Oh, okay. First half the book. Jesus, some of the stuff you can get into with this book is abominable. It's horrible. I think this is giantly overrated. I can't even describe to you. There's a lot of people who think this book is like a 4.5 or higher out of 5 stars, or like 9 out of 10s. 10 out of 10s. There are people who absolutely love this book, and I just can't get why. I get that there's like maybe a certain aspect you might like about the book, but I think, oh, you love it just because of that, and ignore all these other issues that really bother at least me. I don't know. This is one I don't really see why people like once again. And that goes for a lot of these. I mean, with the first like 4 that we agreed upon, I can see a lot of reasons why people like them, and I can at least find reasons why people enjoy them. But this one, this is just a bad story, I feel. Really bad. And it's stereotypy too. Plus, the birthday party of no return is a horrible choice for a title, might I just say. One of the worst in all of Goosebumps, because it has like nothing to do with the fucking book. It has one little one-liner in the book. Might I add that that one-liner is like part of a one little scene that's maybe like 10 pages that is a birthday party that adds nothing to the story. And it was just thrown in probably like after the fact, like say Tease and Die, how there was a nightmare sequence referenced or added into that book where it was a barbecue. Because I don't know, maybe the person who made the title, I don't know if it was Stein or not, or I don't really know who does that. The person who reads it, I don't freaking know. Maybe he's like, this would be so cool if we called it like Birthday Party No Return, dude. This time just added the freaking scene in there. I don't know. Definitely overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I know the feeling isn't mutual with Alex, but even myself, I like watching and even playing some sports, but it's just, again, I don't want to read them. I don't want to fucking read some random kids that I don't know playing sports. It's boring as shit, and I could give less of a fuck, especially when it's things like I can't remember exactly what they did in Jelly Jam, but it was some stupid shit that I didn't care about at all. I think it was badminton, which is like, who the fuck cares about that, right? But all right, this one's gonna piss off a lot of people because I think I'm probably the only person in the community that thinks this, and I'm not joking when I say that. I have never seen even a slightly negative or even a mid review for this. I think it's decent. All right, but I got a huge issue with that. Well, sorry, with this book, and that is the bullying. This book that I'm about to show has so much bullying that it seems people just like to ignore it so much, right? But in my opinion, it's not even because I don't like it. There can be bullying and things. Sometimes that's what makes a book great. Read Are You Terrified Yet, right? But with this book, there's so much of it, it gets fucking annoying and boring to read. And it honestly just feels crude. And that is Calling All Creeps. The last, I'm gonna say, quarter of this book is awesome as shit. What comes before it, I cannot say the same for, and it's a fucking tragedy because I once again think I'm basically one of the only people who have read this book and think this way. I just can't get into it. I'm not sure if that's a personal thing with that bullying stuff, but people always go, great book, 9 out of 10. And it's like, I watch these reviews and they never mention the bullying. And it's like, where the fuck is the bullying shit? And what's funny to me is that the episode to this, I actually like quite a bit. One of the few episodes during that segment, like, was that season 3? This episode, I think? Or maybe it was like late season 2. I don't like late season 2 either. It's one of the only episodes from like late season 2 and on that I say that was actually damn good. This book can't say the same for. And what's funny is the episode was made before the book. So gotta say, man, this is not one that I'll probably ever return to. And I'm not sure exactly what score I'd give it because it's kind of hard to score. It's another book where you kind of go, is this a 7 out of 10 because of that really great part of the book, or is it a 4 out of 10 because of that really bad first half? Kind of similar to Dr. Maniac if you haven't seen my new Horland video. But yeah, that's my number 2.
I'll say this, Bruce. I think people don't really mention the bullying, mostly because they don't really notice it. And I didn't even notice it the first time I went into the book, nor whenever I reread it, I think last December. I didn't really notice it. Didn't really bother me either when there was bullying in the book. Maybe that's not an issue for a lot of people. It might just be a you thing. But I don't know. I'll see if people mention it in the future. Moving on to our number 1 picks, we start with mine here. So for my number 1 pick, this is one that I see people really like. And this is one I also have really read in recent time, but I have pretty good memory of it. And I remember enjoying it, but the more I think about it, I really do see the issues with it. It's tropey. It's got some bad character writing, and it's got a not great Horrorland segment from memory. And that is Revenge of the Living Dummy, if you can guess. Um, this is just a dummy book. And though it has some changes from your average dummy book, it's still, at the end of the day, a slappy book that doesn't do a lot of great. It's like, I mean, out of the first six, probably one of the worst ones. Um, this is one I don't really enjoy upon rethinking, at least. And this is one I see people really like. And I think that I actually have a reason. It's nostalgia. This, and I can even admit it, kind of probably why I think of it kind of highly. Like, hey, it's the first Horrorland book, and I'm one of those weird people who actually like Horrorland. Not bad at all. um, but you know, going over the plot and everything, I see issues in it, and I see a lot of things I don't necessarily really like. And I just see a lot of positivity on Reddit and on other servers. Like I believe Goosebumps Crew server, there was a big talk about how they really like this book. And God, even on YouTube, I see some of it. People, even in my comment sections recently did a book facts for this. People went really good, one of my favorites. And this is one I just can't see. Like I said, there's issues out the wazoo, and it's just your average dummy book. There's nothing even special here, I feel. And though it is, the first Goosebumps book in 8 years, that is new, of course, and not just to be released, not including the reprints, it's still like, not great. I feel that is one of the most overrated, if not the most overrated books in all of Goosebumps, because it probably just gets rated so high because of its pedestal. First book in 8 years.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Bad characters, especially Ethan, holy shit. The Mr. Bad Boy thing is extremely cringy. The plot is extremely generic, and the Horrorland segment. Now, on to a few honorable mentions before I get into my final pick, since I actually have some I'd like to talk about. Number one, Who's Your Mummy? Lame attempt at generic mummy horror. Number two, Say Cheese and Die, Screaming. Lame attempt at reviving the Say Cheese and Die franchise, which was actually pretty good in the 90s. Yeah, if I ever do an underrated book or overhated one, you better watch out for Die Again in there. And finally, Werewolf Skin. Pretty dang good. Why is this so many people's all-time favorite? I don't fucking know. There is plenty of better books. Plenty. Writing-wise, character-wise, pacing-wise, plot-wise. This, honestly, I know I said I wouldn't elaborate too much. The middle portion of this book is not that entertaining. It's just whatever to me. And I think that the climax is kind of rough. And for my number one pick, we have got Slappy's Nightmare. This is an interesting one because I see a lot of people flat out in my eyes kind of lying about this book, about how this is super original for a Slappy book and how it deserves all this praise. Folks, this is more unoriginal than my fucking ass cheeks compared to Another Girl at My School. I've got to be honest here. This has got to be one of the most outright draining books to read. You get into this dummy series and you go, and I didn't read these in order, by the way. I read them in chronological as they were released. And you go from book one, which is a cool idea, just executed a little bit weak. The second book, pretty fucking good. Third book, pretty dang good. And then you kind of go, okay, well, they can't do much else with this, but there's like 10 more books in this franchise. Then you get on to Bride of the Living Dummy. Same shit again. except pretty fucking bad. This book, same shit again, and I can say that throughout the rest of the Slappy series because this shit is horrible. This is a bad book, and if I'm being honest, man, the characters, who the fuck cares at this point? It's Slappy characters. There's another talent show, I think, and on top of that, Slappy people love this book for having this new idea about you got to do good deeds, and it's like that's cool, but it's executed like shit. I can't like this book. I tried really hard because I was excited about it too. About okay, finally, it's gonna be a dummy book that's not doing the same thing over and over again, and it was the same thing as the first four books, and even six and whatever goes on after that. Not a fan. Didn't like this one very much. But I see a lot of people giving this perfect scores.
Damn.
So, that was the collab video. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and please check out Alex's channel, like and subscribe there, and also like and subscribe to this channel. Everybody, once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.